Okay, well, welcome back. Welcome to those of you at home. Welcome to those of you still here. Lovely to have a picnic. Even the sun's beginning to poke through the clouds now, so it's been good to have some time just to catch up and be church family together. This afternoon is not a formal service. There's nothing tonight either, so don't come down tonight. This is it for today. But we wanted an opportunity to say thank you to folks that have served us so well during the pandemic. And also to just begin to introduce some of our plans for the term ahead. Things are still fairly embryonic. Obviously, there's been a really changing sort of sets of rules and regulations and what seem to be wise and unwise. But our hope is that we'll be able to do more this term, and we're planning to that end. So a few folks are going to just let you know what they're thinking about at the moment. But most importantly of all, just the last few folks come back from lunch, we're going to take a moment just to praise the Lord for his faithfulness and his goodness, and to say thank you to him for sustaining us. I had one of those days yesterday where you're doing a few chores. I had a bit of painting to do, and I can't remember what else, weeding. I'm allowed to kill things in our garden. I'm just not allowed to plant anything. So I was entrusted with kind of weed killering the drive. You know, that's my level of expertise. So I listened to about 6 or 7 hours of podcast yesterday. The best one by a country mile was Simon's sermon from 2 weeks ago. And what a song. Let me read it to you. May God be gracious to us and bless us, and make his face shine upon us, that your ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. May the peoples praise you, God. May all the peoples praise you. May the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you rule the peoples with equity and guide the nations of the earth. May the peoples praise you, God. May all the peoples praise you. The land yields its harvest. God, our God, blesses us. May God bless us still, so the ends of the earth will fear him. And the seasons, think about new seasons, they're a mark of God's faithfulness. The gospel reminds us that we have a faithful God whose promises will never be broken. And the fact that we still have a mission to be on is because we have a God who's faithful, and a God who says, may God bless us still, so the ends of the earth will fear him. So we're going to stand and begin this afternoon by praising our faithful God in a couple of songs.
There is no steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is your faithfulness, O Lord. Great is your faithfulness. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is your faithfulness, O Lord. Great is your faithfulness.
Well, do be seated. It's good to praise the Lord. Some of you remember, while the pandemic was still raging, we did a survey to find out what we thought we'd been learning, what we'd appreciated about life under lockdown, all of those sorts of things. When I come back on, Luke, it'll be time to fade, because I couldn't remember how to do a neat fade. So otherwise, it's just going to stop very abruptly after about half a minute that we don't need. Anyway, so if you can be poised for that. So these are your comments. They're a collection of things we've been learning and things that we appreciate. And hopefully you might recognize some of your comments and questions. The top fives aren't necessarily like just in order. They're just the 5 things that were most mentioned on the surveys. But sit back, enjoy, and see what we appreciated.
I've tried in vain 1,000 ways, my fears to quell, my hopes to raise. But what I need, your word has said, is ever only Jesus. You died, you live, you reign, you plead. There's love in all your words and deeds. This weary heart finds all it needs in ever only Jesus.
Thank you very much for your comments and contributions. Those you involved through Refresh or who gave feedback individually. It's very helpful to us with thinking through what we do next. Before we get to that, we want to say thank you to a number of folks. So Isaac, if you're able to run the next PowerPoint, because I've not printed it off, so I can't remember what order we're thanking people in. There we are. So let's see who's first. Or can we not see who's first? The Home Start team. So if you were involved with Home Start, give us a wave. There's quite a few of you. Have a look around, everybody. Home Starters. Let's give them a round of applause. We know people did a brilliant job with the Home Start videos, and our catechism wasn't easy, and I know the children are very glad to have Head Start back and be able to go out and see their friends, but it was wonderful to be able to do that during the pandemic. Who's next? Musicians. Oh, there they are. And other musicians around the room, give us a wave if you're a musician or a singer. There we are. Let's give a round of applause for our musicians and singers. It's great to have our own musicians and singers, isn't it? And you appreciated it today. Our own arrangements, our own people doing songs in a way that's just right for us as a church. Sometimes if we pick videos, it's almost like the stadium style, and we're not that big really, are we? We're not a crowd of 20,000, so it can sound a bit weird, and other times it's just a bit thin, whereas the arrangements here that Jess, the musicians and the singers put together are just right for us, I think, as a church. This is my favorite church music in the world, and I love it. I prefer it to conferences. I prefer it to the other churches I go to. It's just right. So thank you to you guys. Next, tech team. There they are. Give them a wave at the back. And it's probably worth saying there are others involved. Simon's done a lot for the tech. John Sparks is not here this afternoon. He's put in countless hours as well. So thanks to those guys for running it, installing it. Do you remember we didn't used to be on YouTube? It's hard to remember, isn't it? I'd never made a video for YouTube until the pandemic started. That was a newish thing for me. I had to learn how it all worked. But these guys have done an amazing job, haven't they, installing thousands of pounds worth of equipment that has enabled us to function as an online community. So let's give them a round of applause. And the other person in there who I've not mentioned yet was Becky Jones, who foresaw the pandemic coming fast, sat me at the back there on a computer and said, Neil, you've got about 2 hours to learn how to edit a video. I went white, but thankfully, due to her amazing instruction, Becky, who does it professionally, managed to teach me enough to be able to make our services. So she definitely deserves thanks to her. Let's give Becky a round of applause. She's not here today. Right, next, Isaac, who have we got up? Stewards. One of the comments that was made on there that I loved was that people have felt safe coming into church. A number of people said they felt safer here than the supermarket, safer here than all sorts of other places. And our stewards have worked really long hours to make sure that things are safe and that we felt welcomed and there's a smile on the door and that we know what we're doing. If you're a steward or been stewarding during the pandemic, give us a wave. Very good. Let's give them a clap. And on that note, there is one person we owe a tremendous debt of thanks to, someone who has been doing hours and hours every week on keeping you safe, and that's John. We didn't know. The planned return to this country had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was to do with all sorts of other reasons, but we've been enormously grateful to have John and Em with us. But part of John's job has been to do all the admin, week by week by week. You get to see a survey once a month. John has to play Tetris with chairs every week to fit you all in. And the more of you that come back, the harder it's got. How many were in this morning, John? About 110 of us in this morning, still socially distanced to some degree. That is no mean feat. So I think we owe John particularly a round of applause for stewarding us. Isaac, who's next? Our trustees. So in our church, we have elders and deacons collectively, or on a charity point of view, we're trustees. Amy's our chair, Mark's our treasurer, Luke is in charge of compliance, communication, whatever else that committee gets changed to be called that season. And so the three of them do that, and they're ably supported by our other elders and deacons. And so again, part of the whole safety thing comes back to people keeping an eye on the regulations and then working out how they apply to us. All sorts of people have been involved in that, but the stewards have obviously done it on the ground level. On a strategic level, it's been down to our trustees, and particularly we owe tremendous debt to Amy and to Vicky, who have been working on this for us. So again, let's just give a round of applause to those guys. Next up, our Refresh Group leaders. Do you remember when we used to do things other than refresh on a Tuesday? And then we went on a run, didn't we? That was originally going to be, I thought the pandemic, my mind, 6 to 8 weeks. I thought, it'd be tough. But in a couple of months' time, we'll be back to normal. We'll just do refresh every week because for 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be fine. And then the pandemic actually, do you notice it lasted a bit longer than 6 to 8 weeks? And with our Refresh Group leaders, through the medium of Zoom, which, let's be honest, is not the easiest medium to conduct an intimate discussion where people act as family and friends. And once the novelty had worn off after about a week and a half, it then became a thing where Refresh Group leaders just needed to give it a lot of energy and try and draw people in. And it's not been the easiest to keep going for many people. Some people have been fine, but the Refresh Group leaders have had to keep it going whether they've enjoyed it or not. So we're appreciative, aren't we? I love being in Dan and Claire's Refresh Group. I've looked forward to Tuesday evening, seeing folks from the church, sharing news, studying the Bible together, doing some of the Right Now media courses, and then praying. So if you're a Refresh Group leader, give us a wave. Not everyone will know who you all are. There's Dan's, Claire, there's others here who are leading Refresh Groups. That's great. So let's give them a round of applause. And there's more. Our outreach ministries. So despite the fact that we've been short-handed in some respects, because we've not been able to meet with people and we've had to do things online, lots of things have continued. Coffee Stop. The committee have continued to make weekly phone calls and made a couple of DVDs to send people at Easter and Christmas to communicate the gospel to them. Club has continued online. Some of you have been to Club online and enjoyed it. Fusion, Luke and Alex have kept that going week in, week out for some of our teenagers. Homestart Live. I've sometimes accidentally wandered into Simon's office while he's doing a Homestart Live and had to exit immediately as Simon's kind of running on the spot or doing, what is he up to? And I suddenly realised he's not just exercising or just being a complete loon. There are actually people on the end of the call who are enjoying it just as much or almost as much as he is. So Homestart Live. We've had some fantastic women's events that have been greatly appreciated. Right towards the end of last term, we finally managed to get some men's breakfast going again. The Real Life Stories got mentioned a couple of times in the review. A number of you have been in Real Life Stories. Emily, we're so grateful for you putting those together. They've been watched by thousands of people. Most of our services are watched by maybe a couple of hundred max. The Real Life Stories videos are in the thousands collectively, so that's been super encouraging. And all of you, a number of you were involved making meals for folks, some of you for quite long periods of time in the end as the pandemic started out and people readjusted. Lots of you have made calls and just stayed in touch with people. So I guess I'm saying as a church family, I'm sure you've done something. Let's just give ourselves a round of applause. And I think that's it. Yes, Isaac's nodding. Good. So what we're going to do, the children are going to go out and have a breather from us. And Pete and Dan, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure it's going to be hugely exciting. Have some fun, Pete says. So if you want to go and have some fun, not adults, I'm afraid, you have to stay here. But if you're a child and you want to have some fun, then follow Pete and Dan over to the community hall. And while the children are making their way or deciding if they're going or not, we're going to stand again and sing. And we're going to sing, "O Church Arise," and put your armour on before we start thinking about the plans for the coming term.
That
Wonderful. Well, do be seated. So briefly, and these are fairly embryonic plans, we don't meet as trustees till tomorrow night to iron out some of the practical details of how we're doing things this term. But these are our plans so far, and there's going to be a series of other people coming up and explaining aspects of different parts of ministry as well. So Isaac, could we have the plans slide up, because then I'll get things hopefully in the right order. There should be a file called plans. If there isn't, then it's even more blank than I realized. That's all right. While Isaac's looking for that, and I might be disappearing off to my office to move a file across onto that computer. Hopefully you got one of these this morning. If you didn't, let us just know and we'll print some more off next week. They just tell you what's going on. In terms of what's going on Tuesdays and Sundays. Let me run through that while we have a look to see if there's a plans PowerPoint. Is there one there, Isaac? Great, good. So if you start on the same side with the logo, then that just tells you what's going on with the church night. And so hopefully that's clear to everyone. We've got a prayer meeting this week. We won't have much time, I don't think, today to pray through the things we're talking about. So actually, Tuesday night's really the follow-up to this. It's the opportunity to pray about what's going to be happening this term. And I think that's going to be really important. And then Simon and I are going to do an overview the following week on Ephesians and Amos, which are our two series for the term. Then if you're a member here, then we've got a members meeting on the 21st of September, so 3 weeks' time. We had moved them, do you remember, to Sundays, but we just think because we're kind of starting out again, it's not probably right to kind of send other people off on a Sunday and for us then to have a meeting on our own. So instead, we're going to use a Tuesday evening just to kind of cover some important church business. So if you are a member, just put that in your diary. And then there's a run of Refresh. The Refresh groups are going to be a mix of different things this year, and I'll come back to those in a minute. And then there's some training nights in November as well, and some central prayer meetings mixed in. So hopefully that's clear. If there's anything you got questions about, do ask me about that program. And then on the back, it just tells you what's happening on Sundays. In terms of highlights, probably worth pointing out that on the 10th of October, there are two exciting things happening. We hope there's going to be a baptismal service. We've got a couple of people who'd like to be baptized. So that's exciting for us. We just need to confirm that with them. So do try and be around that Sunday. If you're going to be away visiting folks, maybe try and avoid that day. And then another thing we're going to try in the evenings are courses. So once a month, it will be 10 times this year, we are going to do courses in biblical theology and systematic theology. Now, that sounds probably not for me sort of thing, but it's not that at all. Biblical theology is the Bible's big story. We're very fortunate in this church to have just a guy who loves biblical theology, and that's Simon. And his sermons are full of it. So if you enjoy Simon's preaching, there's a lot of it there. But this will be a fuller chance to go from Genesis to Revelation and learn the Bible's big story. It can be quite hard to know everything fits together. And Simon's going to be doing that. And then the other elders are going to run two courses in systematics. There's going to be a kind of foundation level course where we're going to use some Wayne Grudem videos, which are extremely good. And some of you will have seen those before. And then we're going to do a kind of more advanced course using a book called Pilgrim Theology. So there are going to be opportunities for us, hopefully, to deepen our faith. If you were in America, you would be very used to adult Sunday school. It's not something we tend to do over here. But it is almost like that. It's where we learn together to do things we can't normally do on a Sunday service. So once a month, we're going to be doing that. I think hopefully the rest of that's clear. 21st November 2. Also try and keep that date clear. We're going to have our International Mission Sunday. Again, I've really missed the opportunity to be together, to hear from missionaries in that way. So looking forward to that too. So again, any questions on that? We've even gone as far as Christmas. So you can see what's happening on Boxing Day. If that's been troubling you, it's on there. I'll be here, maybe on my own. But if you are around, then it'll be nice to see you on Boxing Day. So hang on to those, and as I say, I'll print some more for next week, and we'll probably email those out tomorrow as well. Isaac, hit me with the program. Yes. So, not first thing of importance, but a very important thing, is that we've got a temporary website up at the moment. Some people have said, what has happened to our website? Well, it's a holding website, which Luke, thankfully, has built for us and is just about holding. So that's good, but it was only ever a temporary measure. We basically have employed the many faces of James Newton, and we may have to rename the church James Newton Church once you see the website, because James is in almost every picture, which is good. I mean, I'm sure Laura's pleased. So basically, because of the pandemic, we've not been able to do things we usually do as a church, so we had to fake all of them with a small cast of James and a few others. So the pictures look really good, and if you can't see very clearly on there because it's quite faded out, but actually the photographer that came also brought a drone, so there's views over Headley Park and the district. It's really, really well done. We didn't thank Helen earlier, but Helen and Becky actually, but Helen a lot, has done a huge amount of work getting our website up and together, and also we had a brand refresh. I didn't even know we had a brand, but we did, and it needed refreshing. These were all things I didn't know about, but I now do, and I'm very grateful because that's our new. You can't see it brilliantly here because I was too stingy to give you color, but it's going to look lovely when it comes out. So we have a brand new, well, kind of brand new, rebranded logo, don't we? So it's similar to the old one. Should be able to recognize it, but it's kind of freshened up for post-pandemic world. So watch out for the new website. Helen, do we have a date for when it's going live? Not yet, but it's this month, we think, don't we? They're working on it pretty fast now, and we've seen some of the early kind of pages now. So we look forward to that, and thank you so much, Helen, for all you've done to make that possible. Next. I can now see. I've got new glasses, by the way. I know I freaked some of you out, and in the sermon I mentioned just how blind I was. The good news is I can now see the back of the room again. Services on Sunday mornings are going to stay live on YouTube as well as in the building. So if you are away, I guess one of the outcomes is going to be if you wake up in the morning feeling grotty, please don't come to church. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's just not worth it to the rest of us. So if you wake up and you feel poorly, stay home and watch. That's tended to happen every week. I reckon we've lost usually about 10 people on the day, haven't we? Have just not felt quite right, and that's fine. You know, we know that's the phase we're currently in. So we're going to carry on YouTube for the foreseeable future, so you can tune in live, but we hope most people will feel ready now to come back. So it's going to be less. You probably saw this morning, I didn't do very much to the camera, whereas in the past we've often talked a little bit to the camera. Well, it's now going to be very much, you'll be watching what's happening in the room. So it'll be there if we need it. And if you're on holiday, I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed tuning in sometimes on holiday. It's good, actually. I've enjoyed that for this phase, and it's going to stay. The other thing that's good is we're going to have a full program for children. Our Home Start team are brilliant. We saw them Home Start were brilliant. Yeah, Head Start, they prefer doing. So the videos were laborious and long and took a lot of doing, and they much prefer interacting with the children themselves. So that's the direction we're going to go with a creche, with primary school groups, and with what we call Head Start Plus. Do you remember that? Where we actually take the older primary children, some of the younger secondary ones, and try to get them ready for joining in with a church service. That's the goal. So for 2 years, we actually train them how to hopefully come and appreciate what happens on a Sunday morning here. And refreshments are back. Hooray! So as of next week, you can get a cup of tea. If that doesn't bring you flocking back, I don't know what will. Okay, so there we are. That's next week. What have we got there? They've already highlighted those, so those are 2 important dates. And then the evenings will be back in the lower hall. We're going to go back to 6 o'clock for the time being. And we'll also be on Zoom for those that would prefer to join. We'll record the services as well. Most of the services are going to work through the book of Amos. Most of them are going to be done by our preaching team. So Sunday evening is going to be much more of an opportunity for a variety of folks in the church to preach from the Word of God. So if you're utterly sick of the sound of me and Simon, you'll get much less of it in the evenings, that's for certain. And we're really excited to have some new guys preaching for us this term as well. And the monthly courses we've also talked about, so you can look forward to those. I'm looking forward to those. It'll be a really good thing for us to do together. Refresh. It says new groups. I'm hesitant to use that word because they could be very similar to the old groups. But here's the thing. If you're going to go to Refresh, you're going to have to sign up again. Okay, so you won't just automatically be in a group. So if you used to go to one in North Somerset or like me at the Browns, they've gone. Oh, they're behind me. There you are. Thanks, Claire. You're a very useful prop. Then I wouldn't automatically be back in Dan and Claire's group. I would need to sign up to say I want to go to their group. So then it may be, that some of you know exactly where you want to be, and there's only one group you could possibly go to. Maybe for some of you, you're prepared to be flexible. You will go wherever that we need to kind of move people around. Our hope is to get everybody into Refresh. And here's the reason. We think those who have regularly gone to Refresh have done best during the pandemic. That those who have had that kind of close contact with other Christians have done best. And those who haven't have really struggled in many ways in their walk with the Lord, and to actually just be a blessing to others by being with them. And we know Zoom has been a major obstacle for some. So it's just been because we can't be in person. But most of these groups will be in person. So we're planning on relaunching 4 in-person groups so people will be together. But we also know that for some people, they're not ready for that yet, that to be in a house with 10, 12 people would just be too much. For some people, it's due to their work. We've got a few people now working away since the pandemic started who just aren't around during the week. We've got other folks who are older now, and actually traveling, particularly through the winter, is unappealing. It's just not practical. So we're very grateful that we've got a couple of leaders already lined up to lead a Zoom group, at least for the first, at least through till Easter and possibly further. So if that's something that would help you, just bear that in mind when it comes to signing up. There will be a Zoom group running this year. And also there's going to be a daytime group. So for, again, those of you who've maybe got younger children, those of you who perhaps are older, and actually the late finish of Refresh, we know for some, again, it's the 8 to 9 and then some, it's actually too late. And that's fine. Not everybody likes staying up late. Some people love it. Some of you are real owls and you stay up kind of right the way into the night. But others of you are larks and you get up early in the morning. And some of you are neither. But it doesn't matter. We will put a group on in the day, which we hope will also be helpful to people. So our hope is to get everybody, if we can, into Refresh who regularly comes into one group or another, just so you get that regular fellowship with other Christians. And we're going to work through the Ephesians series we're doing in the mornings. Ephesians is such a great letter, helps us to understand who we are as a church and who we are as Christians. And we're going to raise questions that help us to apply what was preached recently, but also gives us a chance to look forward to what's coming. And so we hope from that we will really be able to learn from the book of Ephesians how it affects our church and how it affects our lives. Training. 3 training nights in November. Apart from Katie Fitzgerald, I don't know what's happening. She spoke to me ages ago and said, Neil, I've done this brilliant thing on the biblical counselling course. It's my favourite module I've ever done. I said, can it be reduced to 3 short evenings for Headley Park Church? She said, yeah, I reckon I can. So she's been working on that. So one of them will be a biblical counselling thing. And I can't remember what she's doing, which is terrible. But she did tell me about 6 months ago she wanted to do this. So she'll be around, and we'll run 1 or 2 other courses as well. And there'll be more details nearer the time. We're also going to do a Bible teachers course this term for men and for women who want to be better at handling the Word of God and teaching it. And we'll give you more details on that as well. I think that might be nearly it from me. Is that it from me, Isaac? Yes. Oh, phew. Right, so we're also grateful that we've got a huge number of ministry leaders in the church. We can't hear from everybody today, but I've asked people to just give us a couple of minute updates on things that are happening. So Simon and Eleanor and Nathan and Susan are here in person. Katie isn't here. She would have come, but her pastor had a really serious accident on holiday and fell off a cliff. And it was extremely serious. He's actually recovering really well, but they're really short-handed at their church. So I've seen the picture that his daughter took of him on the end of the stretcher as the sea helicopter took him out of the sea. And he was very, very seriously poorly, but the Lord spared him. And actually so much so that he's hoping to come back to church next month. But at the moment, she's extremely busy in their little church in Oldfield Park, although she's still helping us on a Tuesday. She apologises she can't be here today. So, Simon, I'm going to hand over to you to find out about youth and children's ministry.
Thanks, Neil. Oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Sorry, just really weird looking over and seeing Martha but not Ruth. That's very strange. So yeah, Neil's told you about Sunday mornings. We're hoping to kick off Sunday evenings again, just to give the older teens an opportunity to be together, to have some time while the evening service is going on. The Sunday morning youth and children's work will kick off next Sunday. The evening one isn't quite ready yet because we haven't got the leaders. So if you think that that's something that you'd be up for doing, then do get in touch. If I've asked you already and you haven't replied, a little nudge. So that'd be great. And then, yeah, during the week, Tots is preparing to relaunch again. The team were in last week, rooting out the toys. I've already seen some this morning downstairs labelled for the tip. They'll still be there next year. That's how it works here. So, yeah, Tots will be going. Again, we haven't got a start date yet, but we will let you know. Friday mornings in the hall, so that'd be a really good thing. Club, we're hoping to restart a week on Friday. This coming Friday, the 10th, Luke and Alex are going to run a training session at 7 till 8 downstairs. So they've emailed people saying you've been handpicked and we'd love you to come. If you didn't receive that email but are thinking, actually maybe that is something I could get involved with, then let me know, let Luke and Alex know, and you can come and just have a taster. There won't be any children there, but you can just get a feel for what an evening looks like and whether it's something that you'd like to be involved in. You don't have to do it every week, but you can be involved in that. So that will be for year 3 to year 6, so at the upper end of primary school. Again, we're not quite ready to go with secondary school age, just trying to get, again, leaders for that. So again, if you're up for helping in that area, that would be great. And then, it's everything. Yeah, that's great. Also, depending on how things go over the next term, looking to organise a camp just to take the youngsters away, because they've missed out on so much over the past 18 months. And Ruth very naively said a couple of days ago she'd be up for organising it, so that's good. So again, any questions about youth and children's work, do let me know. Apart from Ruth, who doesn't get to ask any questions. She just gets to do stuff. Do pray. Pray for the youngsters. Such a joy to be out with them this morning and to see the fun and the enthusiasm. And thank you to those of you who are up for going again. Do let me know if there's anything that you'd like to know. Thank you.
A few things to let you know about women's ministry. The first is that there have been a bit of a change to the team since pre-pandemic. As you know, Phil and Beth left, so Beth was part of the women's ministry team. Rachel Andrew, also after many years of so wonderfully leading the ministry, has stepped back. So we give our great thanks to her for all that she did over many years. That left myself and Emily Thornton, and so I've kind of stepped into Rachel's shoes, big shoes to fill, to lead the ministry. So we have Emily still on the team, and we're hoping that there are a few others who will join us. Robin Rees is coming on board, and there's a couple of other people ladies I'm talking to in the next little while, and they may join us as well. We're hoping to form a team really that spans all the age ranges, so if you do want to get involved in some way, particularly the older generation, we would really love to have you on board and benefit from your many years of wisdom and experience. So do come and chat to me if you would like to get involved in small or a big way in women's ministry. So we're hoping in this coming year really just to rebuild relationships with one another. We haven't seen each other for a long time, to reconnect with the community and our contacts, and to share the good news with our women friends, and just to apply truth to our lives through discipleship and prayer together. So through the pandemic, we know that some people have joined small groups that were kind of set up, and you may still be in one of those groups. That's something that we want to continue and kind of grow, so that everyone has the opportunity, if they want to be part of a small group where we can get to know one another really well, and just look at the Bible together, apply that to our lives, pray for one another. So if that's something you would like to be involved in, then again, do come and speak to me, and we can facilitate that. We want to get started again with outreach events, and we know that the brunches were really popular before. There's plenty of other ideas that we can consider, but hopefully at some point in this term, maybe around October, November, we're aiming to start something, a Saturday event perhaps, that we can invite our friends to, where they can hear the gospel explained. There's also an event that you hopefully have seen on email, which is being organised by Grace Church actually on the 18th of September. It's a morning session just for women on the topic of mental health and how we can support one another and understand really mental health in the context of the gospel. It's going to be really good, I think, because the speaker Helen Thorne is from biblical counselling and is really knowledgeable and just really warmly approachable on this subject. So if you haven't signed up and want to come and haven't seen the details, let me know and I can send you the link. There's a kind of online booking system. It seems when I booked that you have to go through PayPal to pay. It's a £5 charge. So if you haven't got an account but want to come and that's a bit complicated setting it up, then do speak to me and I can always book for you if that makes it easier. So yeah, evangelist events, small groups. We're hoping also just as we kind of restart to get connected really through emails as well, and a monthly email just to encourage one another. Many people found the online events that we had at Christmas and Easter, where people were sharing testimonies and things that really helped them, that was really beneficial. So we thought we'd like to continue that on an email sort of format. So if there's anything you do want to share, if you feel like I couldn't speak up front, I don't want to do anything live, but actually I'd like to share this part of my story or this thing that's happened or just a Bible passage that's been important to you or a song, whatever, then do send things in to us in kind of written form and we can then share those with each other and just continue that kind of regular encouragement in that way. I certainly benefited hugely from hearing people's stories and how the Lord's worked in our lives. And then as Neil said, there'll be opportunities through the year just for thinking about training and teaching one another and how we can encourage those who've got skills or things that they want to share to be able to do that with the women in the church. So we'll just be thinking about those things. So nothing firm particularly, but lots to think about, and do come and chat if you'd like to know more. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I've also got an eye problem like Neil, so I think I need to get some new glasses. So I'm going to have to turn around and try and talk as I go through. I'm going to be in charge of the sort of men's ministry team going forwards. We're looking at grabbing a few people from the congregation to join the team as well. So if you're interested and you want to get involved, please give me a shout. One of the main things we do is a men's breakfast. These happen sort of 4 times a year. And they're absolutely fantastic. It's so good to come down on a Saturday morning, see so many people from the local community in. They're a really, really powerful way to reach out to people. It involves food, so that's always good for men. The next one is going to be on the 25th of September. Speakers to be confirmed, but please let me know if you want to come along. We'll have a sign-up sheet out, and I'm sure there'll be an email address that we can email to. So if you want to come along, bring people along, they're really good. We need people on the team as well, so if you want to help out, 4 times a year they happen, and sort of 7:30 till about 10 o'clock they're normally over. Really good way to serve, really good way to get involved in things, get to know other men. If you want to get involved, please let me know, and if you want to speak as well. The next thing that's coming up is the Southwest Gospel Partnerships Men's Convention. That's on the 9th of October in Stoke Gifford. Now, I've never actually been, bizarrely, I've been to 3 or 4 women's conferences to serve tea, but I've never made it to the men's conference. I'm going this year. It looks absolutely fantastic. It is on, as men, I find we're really bad at sharing our emotions. I don't know about you, but I feel like quite often when someone sees me on a Sunday morning and say, "How are you?" I say, "Yeah, I'm fine," whether I am or not. And as men, we don't seem to be particularly good. So this is really exciting that it looks at how we can, the place of emotions in Christian discipleship. So I think that'll be really good. If you want to sign up, there's early bird tickets until the 9th of September. Again, if you want some help signing up, give me a shout. If you want a lift, give me a shout. I'm sure we can organise something as well. So that's going to be in Stoke Gifford. And then finally, going forwards, this is quite a new thing that we're trying to do. We're open to suggestions for what you think would work for you. I'm very conscious that we're all very different. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ, which is amazing, and that's what unites us. But we're all different ages. So if there's things that you think would be really good for certain demographics or certain age groups or that sort of stuff, please give me a shout. We're really open to how we do this. I found small groups over lockdown really helpful, so I was involved in a couple of those, meeting with people regularly to pray, going for walks with people. That really helped sustain me. So maybe looking at getting those involved if anyone's interested in that. Impromptu events, it would be quite nice to just have a couple of us go out for a curry or just something like that. And really, I think for me, the most important thing is that we can learn to grow together in Christ, that we can deepen our friendships and deepen our relationships for his glory. So if you want to get involved, if you want to give me suggestions for things to do, just give me a shout at any point. Thank you.
Okay, so can you hear me from here? From sideways? Neil told me, I thought we had a whole afternoon when he said it was a church afternoon, and then it transpired it was 1 hour, and that we were allowed 2 minutes, and no longer, and 1 slide. So I then decided to... I know. I decided to stretch it a bit and put it on 2 slides as a reminder to what I was going to say, and then just speak very, very quickly. Anyway, so I don't know if everybody knows that I was asked to be coordinator of pastoral care, was it last year sometime? And it's a voluntary role, it's not a paid role, it's a voluntary role. And I must admit that I thought, what is pastoral care? And when you actually look at the definitions, there's thousands of different definitions. But Pastoral Care UK have this definition from the Christian point of view, which is Christian pastoral care is the activity which erupts from the attitude and commitment to love one another because we ourselves are first loved by God. So there are many ways of splitting up pastoral care, and often churches focus on pastoral care being spiritual care, but it's really a whole package, and just for practicalities I've split it into 2 limbs of practical care and spiritual care. And it's just really important to say that we're all pastoral workers. When you look at that definition, and when you look at what is going on in church at the moment, we're all pastoral workers. We all love each other, we show love to each other, we support each other, we encourage each other, and we do that in our friendships, our fellowships, after church on a Sunday, in refresh, small groups, etc., etc., etc. We do a lot of this, and we do most of that anyway, in terms of what the church's needs. But my role as coordinator is really to facilitate the efficient delivery of appropriate pastoral care to those who need it when they need it, just to make sure that there's not 20 people doing supporting one person and nobody supporting 5 or 6 others. So it's just a way of coordinating it to make sure that everybody gets what they need when they need it. I'm just quickly going to mention newcomers, because part of my role is looking at newcomers and making sure they're welcome and they get the information they need. And Helen and I have been looking at that, looking at what information we might put in writing, what we put on the website. And because the website's in flux at the moment, we've got ideas, but we haven't actually formalised that yet. So we'll come back to that. Can I have the next reminder, Isaac? Because I can't remember what I was going to say next. Yeah, so just on the practical care front, we've just started, Helen and I have spent some time looking at admin systems and flows, and that's worked quite well in terms of communication with people who are delivering practical care. And just little things like, the big thing is using Church Suite, which Helen's an expert at, and then just little things like WhatsApp groups have just meant that it's better coordinated and people just know better who's doing what. We're looking at continued development of pathways and just making sure that things are even better coordinated. And what I'd really like is just a bank of more specific helpers who are available, so that it's just easier to know who we can call upon, who's got the availability or might have the availability when things are needed. So things like hospital lifts, visiting people at home, making phone calls to people. And just something that really struck me over lockdown was that, to my shame, I only did it once, was sat with somebody who couldn't get to church. So I didn't come to church and sat with them. And just realising how lonely people are, what a blessing that is, and just thinking, could people maybe just once a month think about actually doing something along those lines? So just thinking of other ways of supporting people who physically can't get into the building as well. So there's lots of suggestions and ideas, that's just a few of them. I'm hoping to send a questionnaire around at some point through probably the roundup, will it be on a Friday? I'm the worst person at looking at my emails and filling in questionnaires, and I'm the last person to know what's going on in church, because Neil presumes I read my emails, so I presume he's going to tell me, and then basically I'm the last person to know. So it's a bit cheeky for me to say, please fill in the questionnaire when it comes round, but please fill in the questionnaire when it comes round. And then just on the spiritual care front, this is a sort of a more difficult thing, I suppose, to put together in some ways. The eldership are obviously responsible for our overall spiritual care, so the system of how we support that is really sort of overseen by the elders and has to obviously be workable for them and have to feed into that. I obviously haven't achieved a contracted biblical counsellor. That's something which has been achieved over the last year or so, and that's worked extremely well because so Katie comes in on a Tuesday, and that's just been a really fantastic asset to the church. What we're looking at, well, I'm looking at, could we have sort of a pastoral care team with people who've got appropriate gifts and skills and also training to feed into the pastoral care system, and it's not clear exactly how that's going to happen yet. Though there are many people who've already got gifts and skills, but it's highlighting them and making sure that they do get fed in appropriately. And there are training opportunities as a counselling course, for example, and I know that I think the women's ministry team as well are looking at other training opportunities as well to then train and highlight people that can then be fed into that system that's overseen by the eldership. And again, I'll have a role in facilitating that. So that's it, really. Yeah. Thank you.
That's all right. It would be very hypocritical if I tied everyone else to 2 minutes because my video with Katie is 5 minutes. So sit back. You've heard her name mentioned. Many of you will know Katie, but if you don't, I interviewed her on Tuesday when she was across for irregular hours, but wasn't seeing anyone, so we chatted and called up for this term. And if you might be feeling at the end of lockdown that actually it'd just be good to have someone to talk things through with, we employ Katie to kind of, just to help apply the Bible to life. We should all be doing that, but sometimes you just need someone from the outside who's got time to really listen to you, and she's really highly skilled in this area. So I've just shot a very short video, well, not very short, not short as it should have been, 5-minute video of me chatting to Katie about her work. Well, I'm delighted to say that it's currently Tuesday, and I'm with Katie, who works for Headley Park Church on a Tuesday afternoon, some as other points during the week, as a biblical counsellor. Katie, for those who have never met you, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Sure. My name's Katie Fitzgerald, and I live just on the outside of Bath with my husband and 2 children who are 5 and 7. We also got a new dog, a little puppy that's a bit of a handful. So yeah, never a dull moment in our house at the moment. We go to a little Baptist church in Oldfield Park called Oldfield Park Baptist Church, which is just perfect for us because it is situated on the end of a little high street, which me and my husband have had a real heart for getting to know those people for 10, 15 years. We've been really investing into that little high street and building relationships there, and it means a lot to us. So yeah, on Monham Road, if you know it.
That's great. Well, I do, because my parents live very near there. Katie, a number of people in the church have seen you, quite a few now, for a whole variety of reasons to experience biblical counselling. Katie, can you tell us what is biblical counselling and what sorts of reasons might mean that someone will come and book in some sessions with you?
I feel like I'm better at biblical counsel than describing what biblical counselling is, because I think the phrase biblical counselling can be a bit tricky. I think the word counselling can be a bit tricky sometimes. It brings different connotations and ideas. There's lots of different types of counselling, but it's probably helpful to remember that God uses that word, that he describes Jesus as the wonderful counsellor, and to give counsel, we do it all the time. We give counsel all the time for all different conversations. So why wouldn't we want to make that counsel more biblical? And be bringing the hope of scripture to each other in our conversations, just our normal talking and listening with one another. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. So what you're saying is if people come to you, then you're going to listen to what they're saying, but you're also going to try and bring a biblical perspective on whatever the issues are that they feel they just maybe have got stuck with, or are struggling to kind of move forward, or to really trust the Lord in a particular situation or something they've been through. Well, what sorts of reasons might people come to you, Katie? Why might someone come see a biblical counsellor?
I think the obvious one is if we're feeling particularly burdened by a particular type of struggling or suffering, something hard that we're going through, because we all go through hard things because it's a broken world that we live in. So that would be the obvious one, when we just feel like we could really do with someone to talk to, or a bit of support for a particular thing we're facing. But it's not always just to do with suffering. Sometimes it's to do with sin. If there's a particular thing in our life that we're struggling with, that we can just feel we're ignoring God in, and we want to try and tackle it, and we need a bit of support, then that's another good reason to come. And sometimes just that feeling of indifference as well, or just feeling a bit flat and a bit disconnected, maybe with our church, maybe with other things in our life. I think that's another one that sometimes gets overlooked, just feeling like, yeah, we could do with talking things through with somebody because we feel a bit disconnected from things.
I think we've talked about this a little bit today, just coming out of lockdown, maybe being away from church family and normality and routine and those things that sometimes act as props that just help us to kind of keep everything together. It may be that we feel we're quite a long way from the Lord and actually just want some help just kind of beginning again with Jesus. So yeah, if you are in a situation right now where you feel maybe you just feel distant from the Lord, or actually under lockdown things have come to the surface that you're just struggling to resolve, whether that's due to suffering or sin, or just that sense that there must be kind of more to the Christian life you're currently experiencing, and just like to have someone to talk to who's confidential, who's from outside of our church, who can bring a biblical perspective, but not somebody you're going to see Sunday by Sunday by Sunday in the church family, then that's one of the reasons we've taken Katie on to do this role. She's done a great job for us. Very grateful that Katie's part of the team here, and we've got openings at the moment where a few folks could now meet with Katie on a more regular basis to resolve some of these things. So if that's something that would be helpful to you, please contact me and I'll put you in touch with Katie.
I wonder if it might be worth just saying quickly as well that it's not that I'm going to listen to you and quickly try and bash you with a Bible verse. I think that's really important, that there's a lot of listening that happens beforehand and understanding things together. So although I'll always be thinking about things through a biblical lens, and I'll be ordering things in my head biblically, and that will help us to find a direction together. A lot of it will just be talking to each other and listening to each other just very normally. Yeah, I think that can be helpful to remember too.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Katie. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with Katie, then contact me and I can put you in touch with her.
You also, yeah, I basically book people in. You don't have to tell me why you want to see Katie, just that you do. That's it. And it just means that I can manage her time and her hours, because we just have a couple of hours with her each week. It's not to say that other people aren't great to listen to in this church. It's just there are certain things you don't necessarily want other people, when you see them week by week, to know about you or about a situation that you are facing. And that's why we've chosen to take someone from outside of the church to do some of that listening. We did it years ago as a family. It's when I first came across biblical counselling after Elaine died. And it was just helpful to have a counsellor outside of the church to be able to talk to, although I got counsel from many of you, and so did the boys. It was extremely helpful to have an outside person. And then when that acute grief was over, you weren't seeing the same person every week you'd spoken to. Those things were elsewhere and, in a sense, behind you. And so that's why we do what we do here. So I hope, that's excited you about the term ahead. Our time is 2 minutes to 2. Isn't that good? Do you see? I said 1 hour. Susan wanted all afternoon. You could have had 4 hours of Susan. I've got that now. As we finish, we're going to sing the song that came up number 1 on our survey, which Susan probably didn't fill in, on hymns. And so it was My Rock and My Redeemer was top by a mile. So if you don't like that one, I'm sorry, but most people in this church, or the majority of people that voted, it was on their list. So we're going to finish this afternoon by singing, Oh God, My Rock and My Redeemer.
Greatest treasure of my longing.
Well, it's been good to be together. It's good to be church family. It's good to belong to Jesus. It's good to be able to grow daily, more like him. It's good to go with the good news of the gospel on mission for Jesus. And so go in the grace of God to love and serve him, to grow more like Jesus, to be a blessing to others, and to take the good news to those that don't know him. And all God's people said, Amen. That's it. You can have a seat. If you want to pray about these things, then Tuesday night on Zoom here, either way, you can pray, and that'll be a good thing to do. We'll send around a video, deconstructed video. So the plans bit will be separate to the other bit. So you'll be able to look at the plans again if you didn't quite catch something or you want to look at it again. And watch out for Susan's survey and other surveys that may go around. So we look for more volunteers to do different things in the life of the church. And also remember, at some point in the next week or so, there'll be refresh group sign-up. So as we finalize those things, you're not automatically in a refresh group. It's something we sign up for this year. So when those lists go around, you'll need to get signed up. Thanks for coming today, and have a blessed rest of your day.